Hello students, we're getting ready to start Unit 11, and so I wanted to go over some things that we'll find there. I've got a document on the screen. You can see we begin with tense. So I want to review a little bit about tense. Present tense, the label in Greek is enestos, is imperfective in aspect, and it looks at the unfolding process of an action in the present time. The imperfect tense, which is called paratatikos, is imperfective as well and looks at the unfolding or customary process of an action in the past time. So the present tense, we could say, the boy is going. In the imperfect tense, we would say the boy was going. The aorist tense, which is also a past tense, the label in Greek is aoristos, is perfective in aspect and looks at the simple fact that something took place without paying attention to beginning, the middle, or the process, or the end. And so, present tense, the boy is going, or simply the boy goes. Imperfect tense, the boy was going. Aorist tense, the boy went. And then we've got a consideration of voice. We've talked about this in class. Active voice is when the subject of the verb is doing the action. Middle voice is when the subject of the verb is also doing the action but is affected by it. We do not have middle voice in English. Passive voice is when the subject of the verb is receiving the action, usually with an external agent. For example, Billy was being hit by the bully. The external agent is the bully. Now, in Unit 10, we had some aorist verbs, but we had more imperfect tense verbs. In Unit 11, we will have more aorist verbs than imperfect, and we will practice changing a present tense verb into an aorist. So that brings us to the next thing for us to consider, that of augment. For right now, it will be happy for us to think of an augment as a past time indicator. Augment only occurs in the indicative mood. That would be the imperfect, the aorist, or pluperfect tenses. Remember that for compound verbs, the augment will occur between the prepositional prefix and the main verbal stem. For example, the aorist of erchome is eilthon. It is a second aorist form. That's why we have a stem change. And the eta of the eilthon is the augment. The aorist of is erchome is is eilthon, and the eta of is eilthon is the augment. Now, for a word that begins with a vowel, the initial vowel will be lengthened to create the augment. For example, the aorist of agapao is erapesa, and the initial eta is the augment. And so we want to look at some of the paradigms that we've had. The imperfect paradigms, this is the imperfect of luo, which is kind of our paradigm verb. For regular verbs, notice we've got the augment at the beginning in all of these. And then our endings are on, es, e. Usually we'll see a movable nu here. Omen, ete, on. In the middle and passive, we'll have the augment just the same. We have the endings omen, u, eto, ometha, este, ondo. Okay? And so the meaning of the imperfect here would be I was loosing, you were loosing, he, she, or it was loosing, we were loosing, all y'all were loosing, they were loosing. Or, in the middle passive, I was being loosed, you were being loosed, he, she, or it was being loosed, we were being loosed, all y'all were being loosed, they were being loosed. Okay? Now, we can see that in the imperfect tense, the same way as the present tense, we have two set points for voice. We've got active and we've got middle passive, same form. Okay? In the aorist paradigms, however, we've got three set points. We've got active, middle, and we've got passive. And so for first aorist verbs, we've got a tense formative of a sigma alpha. You can see sigma alpha here. You can see sigma alpha there. And so for the active and middle, we've got the tense formative of a sigma alpha. Notice that we've got epsilons as the augment for each one of these. And so we've got Elisa, Elisas, Elisen, and normally there will be a movable nu there. Elusamen, Elusate, Elusan. And so our endings would be sa, sas, se, or sen, samen, sate, san. The meaning of that would be I loosed, you loosed, he, she, it loosed, we loosed, all y'all loosed, they loosed. In the aorist middle, notice we still have the augment, but we have the sigma alpha as well. And so our endings would be samen, so, sado, samethe, sasde, sando. And the meaning would be I loosed for myself, you loosed for yourself, he, she, it loosed for himself, we loosed for ourselves, all y'all loosed for yourselves, and they loosed for themselves. In the aorist passive, we've got a different tense formative, the theta eta. Notice we've got the augment, and so our endings are thane, thes, the, thamen, theta, thesan. Now, all of that is fine and dandy, except some verbs have a second aorist form instead of a first aorist. And the second aorist, I like to call it a copycat tense. It has a stem change. It has the same endings as the imperfect in the active and middle voices. And in the passive voice, it has endings similar to the first aorist in the passive voice, with the exception of the theta. Okay? And we call it a copycat tense because it copies the endings in the imperfect tense. How do you know if a verb has an augment and it has these endings? How do you know if it's an imperfect tense verb or if it is a second aorist verb? The key is right here in the stem change. And so we've got our verb lamvano, and notice that the second aorist stem, we lose the mu and the an. The second aorist stem is just lav. Notice we've got our augment, and our endings on sn, omen, ete, on, are exactly the same as in the imperfect. Now, when we get to the second aorist passive, as I said here, we will have endings similar to the first aorist. We'll still have the stem change, but without the theta of the thane, thes, the, thamen, thete, thesan. So hopefully that will be helpful for you. I'll see you in class in the morning. Bye-bye.